Hello everybody, this is Skyflight44, aka Sex44, and today, another Pokemon Stadium video. Oh, what a thunk it. I'm not really going to be talking so much about Pokemon this time. I have another thing I want to kind of rant about, and it's sort of on topic because I'm mostly going to be talking about jrpgs in general, but I'm not gonna say I was disappointed in the what I was given in the seventh generation, and for the most part, what the seventh generation even had when it came to JRPGs. But I really haven't played too many of them. Let's say when it comes to seventh generation, a lot of the best ones was it like Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, quite a few other ones. Um, a lot of them I really just haven't got to, but some of the ones that I have gotten to, like Enchanted Arms, like Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of a New World, which is probably the one I hate most. Just a little side note. I that's not the first Tales of game that I've tried. There was actually a Tales of Symphonia. I mean, not Tales of Symphonia. Tales of Fantasia that I originally tried out, but kind of died before I actually got too far into it. But Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of a New World. I still remember listening to all of the bitching and moaning and just cliche, stupid stuff that went between, what was it, Emil and Marta, was it? Holy shit. How many different... You go 10 feet, and then you have an optional cutscene that you can listen to. Here's the thing. I'm one of those people that... story is a huge thing about an RPG. I kind of want to go and see all of it. I mean, the actual developers put it in. They were kind enough to put it in. I might as well go and listen to it. I mean, the 5th generation had great RPGs. The 4th generation had good RPGs. But not all the time did they have the luxury of really fleshing out a lot of the characters. So might as well, 7th generation, actually, I should probably go and enjoy it, at least. And in 3 hours, because of a lot of those cutscenes, because of all the talking and talking and talking, and not being good talking either, this is some boring shit. I looked at the time, and because it tells you how many battles you played, how many battles I played, and it was 3 hours, and I played 23 battles. Now, this might just be me, but if I was playing a Pokemon game, within the first hour, I would have probably been in at least 60 battles before. If I was actually playing Final Fantasy game, even if it was one of those ones that had plenty of talking or a huge prologue like, FF12, I'm still doing a lot of fighting in the game quite early on. Hell, even Persona 4, which had a much longer prologue, Persona 4's writing, the dub was really great. All those voice actors were really good, and the fact that everything was interesting really made sitting through almost no battles at all, no real RPG gameplay for all that time, it really didn't matter because I was still being entertained, but Tales of Symphonia just destroyed me. Dawn of a New World, at least, I can't say anything about the original game. I would like to see it, and I believe Super Gaming Brothers are going to be doing it quite soon. I can't wait for that. But I really do want to get into the Tales of series, and there's actually quite a lot of Tales of games on the going from PS3, Xbox 360, on the Wii. I kind of do want to get into them, but Dawn of a New World can go suck a dick. I'm never playing that game again. And it's probably going to be somebody in the audience that's going to have to try and get me to go and play that game again, because if it's just on my, if it's just me, I'm probably never going to touch that game again. But even going and playing stuff like Enchanted Arms, I got Enchanted Arms because it was like 2009 at the time, and for the most part, there really wasn't any or too many JRPGs I actually seen. It didn't have a PS3. Yeah, it's just like I just got the PS3 not too long ago. At that point, I didn't really see too many things on it, like maybe Eternal Sonata, and maybe a few others, but from what I was seeing on the actual, like for reviews, it didn't seem too high quality. I got Enchanted Arms because it was cheap as hell, and I just needed a JRPG fix to begin with. And to be honest, that game is kind of, at this point in time, a guilty pleasure for me. The game isn't like, holy shit, this shit's terrible. It's more of, the game is incredibly underwhelming, cliched, and while the actual battles, like gameplay, the fighting gameplay was quite interesting and had some potential to it, had some real potential to it. They kind of fucked it up, to be honest. Just thinking back onto it, and Enchanted Arms was trying to do a Mon system. However, Pokemon has, you can pretty much get whatever Pokemon you want. They can evolve, they can gain new moves, you can give them moves through breeding, you can give them new moves through TMs and HMs. And a lot of it's just, you can use whatever Pokemon you want to beat the game. Except maybe the super boss, like Red, like Steven and Emerald, or just those people that have like fucking level 70 Pokemon sometimes. You can definitely see those times you're probably not going to be able to use whatever Pokemon you want, but you can go through the game and use any Pokemon you want. And Shin Megami Tensei, or I think that's what it was. SMT. Well, I'm going by the second game. You didn't have enough human characters or humanoid characters in the game to actually really fill up a fill up the entire 5 party slots. You had to use the demons. You were forced to pretty much use the demons, because, well, the SMT series isn't the easiest gaming series in general, but you were forced to use them. There were reasons to go and use the demons. In Persona, you get to change your persona for and the later ones with just your main character, but in the earlier ones, with for the most part, all of your characters, all the different persona, you could do stuff. You could go and fuse them. There were still reasons that they were being used. You had to use them. Even in Dragon Quest, like I believe it was Dragon Quest V. Anytime, a lot of these times you had these mon systems, they were done pretty well, but an Enchanted Arms, the actual the golems that you actually use, the monsters, they don't get any new moves. They don't evolve into something else. It's not like SMT where you have to use them either. You have 4 slots. Eventually you get 4 human characters that get better moves after a while, that get better equipment that makes them so much superior to the actual golems in the game. You can actually go and use these golems, but it's a stupid move. Why would you ever use any of these golems after you get all 4 party members? And they continue to give you some. It's not even worth doing so in a challenge run. Just because the actual, the human party members are just far superior. When it comes to story, the game's not all that great. It's cliched. And this isn't Skies of Arcadia cliched. This is bland cliched. Skies of Arcadia cliched was Skies of Arcadia was a game on the Dreamcast. It was pretty much the only JRPG on the Dreamcast that I can think of. Like a true one. And it actually got re-released on the GameCube. And that's the one I have, but that game is very, very cliched. However, the thing about that is it's not shameless. It's actually, the game shows you this is why all of those RPG, cliches are cliched to begin with. That's why they were overused, because Skies of Arcadia makes you love them again. Makes you smile. Not even the characters are interesting. This isn't Persona. Enchanted Arms doesn't make you really enjoy these characters. I swear, sometimes I actually think that the original Japanese probably just had a much better script. That version had to have a better script, because there's just some lines that are so cheesy, that are just so stupid. I mean, the gameplay isn't all that bad. It has a grid-based battle mechanic where there's you have your field, your opponent has another side of the field. You can't go into your opponent's field, but you have to move around your characters, and your moves can only target specific points on the other side on your opponent's field and stuff. It was actually kind of interesting. A lot of the battles just went down and kind of devolved into the same thing for the most part every single time. But the elements, the moving around, and the battle system, while the golems were useless, it was still pretty cool. And I mean, it's not like Final Fantasy 13 or any of the Final Fantasy games in which, even if you don't like the actual game's quality, it's kind of masked with the quality of the graphics. Enchanted Arms didn't really look all that good, but a lot of the 7th generation RPGs that I actually played were kind of disappointments, or just not that good in general. I mean, I'm still going to be the person that will say I very much enjoyed Final Fantasy 13. I bought Pokemon Diamond. I enjoyed it. Then I started enjoying it less, but I got it first day and enjoyed it. I played Final Fantasy 13, and for the most part, my enjoyment from the beginning, since I played the game originally, it hasn't really changed all that much. I still enjoy it. I played like 2.5 times the last time. I kind of had other things to do and I just got out of it. But while I'm not going to go and defend my position, because I can definitely agree with a lot of what other people call Final Fantasy 13 out for, but then for the most part, I'll go and call out Final Fantasy 10 for most of the bullshit a lot of people call out 13 for. Like how it's linear, like how they don't like the characters, like how they don't like the fucking characters, and just a lot of shit. I don't care if you can go back and Final Fantasy X. There was almost absolutely no reason for me to actually go back to any of the previous places in Final Fantasy X. Just saying, I don't like Final Fantasy X. But there were so many other JRPGs I really haven't got to. I wanted to go and get Arc Rise Fantasia. I wanted to go and try Eternal Sonata. I still haven't got to Final Fantasy 13 too, which I kind of need to go and do, because it's kind of cheap. But a lot of the times I played JRPGs for the most part have been on handhelds, have been on just previous consoles. I went back and I played through Dragon Quest VIII, and I can definitely tell you I actually like that game. The Dragon Quest series isn't my favorite, but I went back and played Final Fantasy IX, and holy shit, is that a masterpiece. I went back and played Super Mario RPG, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V. Hell, most of the Final Fantasy series, to be honest. I mean, last part I told you how I went and played 3 for the DS. Absolutely love that. I went back and I got 4 pretty much the day that came out, fairly early, and holy shit. If you ever get Final Fantasy IV, if you want the original experience or something that was like it, go play the PSP version, the definitive version. If you're bored with the game, like I kind of find Final Fantasy IV to be quite boring, go and play the DS version, because that game will kick your ass. It will kick your ass. It'll kick your ass Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe not a little bit Saturday, but the next Sunday it's going to start kicking your ass again. That game. One of the things I kind of realized after I started playing Pokemon Diamond and just continued on, and just my gaming experience, was I stopped playing a lot of, if I got a game over a lot, if I just kept on failing, I would kind of stop playing a game and go on to something else. FF4 for the DS, I failed so many times, but I still continued to come back to it. Oh yeah, by the way, Executor is fun as shit to use when it has Psychic. In the original game, it's pretty much the only Psychic Pokemon that has good defense other than Slowbro. Not to mention the only like grass type other than Tangela that isn't actually poison. But just going back, going and playing all of those JRPGs and just over all of these generations. What was with the 7th generation? The only like real JRPG I actually got in the 7th generation was the Last Remnant, which I just got quite recently. And for the PC, but fuck the 360 version. But even that one, I just what's with all? It feels as if the quality of all these JRPGs have went down. The only other one I can really think of that I played was White Knight Chronicles and White Knight Chronicles 2. Never got to 2. But I played some White Knight Chronicles. The game was fun, and it reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy 12, which was a good thing because I love that game. But a common theme throughout a lot of these games was just being bored. A lot of these games just, the story wasn't all that good. Some of the characters might have pissed me off. I just got bored quite quickly with a lot of these games. And while again, there were a lot of these good jrpgs on these other consoles, mainly the PS3 and the Wii. The 360 doesn't really have anything. But actually, be honest, if any of you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them, because the JRPG genre is my favorite, even above platformers and racing games. And once again, I'll tell you, strategy games are only my 4th favorite. So that's the reason why I'm not doing Battlefield Earth 2 every single day. But I went back, and especially after I played FF9, I went back, I played Breath of Fire 2 with that fan translation, which was amazing. I went back, I played FF6, I went back, I played Super Mario RPG. All of these high quality JRPGs were just great. The characters were good, there was so much charm into everything. That's probably the biggest thing that's gone. It's not that they aren't fun, it's not that some of them aren't good, it's the charm is just gone. And when I said that, I'm really thinking about the Square and Square Enix. But fuck. A lot, even looking at some of the games that I really haven't played, but going on into the Paper Mario series, which, looking at sticker style, doesn't look all that great. Even Super Paper Mario, though I got bored watching it, actually was quite interesting, but just wasn't all that interesting a game. The story was good, but gameplay-wise, it just didn't look all too interesting. I played the Mario and Luigi, the original game, even though it wasn't my cup of tea. But I went back and played Partners in Time. That kind of bored me. I looked into the others. I haven't seen Dream Team, but for the most part, that series has bored me. Though I still absolutely adore Paper Mario: 1,000 Year Door. Do any of you feel like the quality in these games have gone down? Granted, there are a lot of these, a lot of games I actually have to go and sink my teeth into, but the Pokemon series kind of felt like it went down in quality, or maybe not that. It's not holding my interest. I mean, the multiplayer experience in Black 2 and White 2, even in Diamond and Pearl, just got so much better than if you were playing Emerald, than if you're just playing Silver. But the single player kind of feels as if it's gotten worse. The adventures seem to be a bit more boring and bland. The Pokemon in general just seem to be not all that fun to use. It's so much like I'm gonna go back to Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. You only really got half a generation in that game. Like, the second half of the generation was all either legendary Pokemon or was Pokemon that were that you couldn't get. in the main game because they were all tied to like Generation 1 Pokemon, Generation 2 or 3. And that, like multiplayer, people could actually use them. After you beat the game, you can use them, but in the main game, the single player, it's gone. You can't do anything with them. A lot of the charm out of all the JRPG series that I've played as a child, or even going on and played retroactively, the newer incarnations in the series are just, a lot of them lack that charm, that just nice feeling that they had originally. Like Final Fantasy 13. I still very much enjoy the game, but the only ones that it really beats in quality, in my opinion, are 1 and 10. Mainly because 1's boring, because there's no difficulty to it if you don't play the original version, and 13 is just better than 10 because I fucking hate 10. That's more of a personal thing than anything else, but even looking back at 13, the only thing the best feeling about it was the feeling that was actually fast-paced, in my opinion, and also I felt like one of the things about a JRPG is I like feeling like after a while I have growth. And that was about it. Looking into all that, looking like Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 9, and even 12, I feel like I've actually gone through growth, especially 5. Oh, 5. I feel as if after a while, after I've gone up a few levels, or in 2's case, after I've gone through like even 50 battles, I've gotten much stronger than I was before, which is actually the reason why I don't like Final Fantasy 1's extra dungeons, because you're not leveling up in those at all, and you're not getting any stronger. Trust me. Those extra bosses were quite difficult in some of them, but and they were interesting, but the dungeons themselves sucked balls because there was no difficulty to them. But looking into something like 5, in which you have you can go through like 26 job classes. You can go, and once you level up like 10 levels, you've gotten over 1,000 more health at the very end of the game. That in the extra dungeon, you go through and level up so quickly. You're using all of these different strategies that you've actually learned through the entire game. The fact that the base game, pretty much every single boss can be beaten with like 5 different strategies. 13 really doesn't compare. Hell, well, I still love 12. 12 can't compare in that aspect either. But, granted, I have played some good JRPGs when it comes to the time of the 7th generation. I haven't really got to the PSP ones and a lot of the DS ones, though I have played quite a few DS ones. If you know me, I really do enjoy the shit that Z-Board Games pulls out. Breath of Death 7, Cthulhu Saves the World, the Penny Arcades on the precipice, on the rain-slick precipice of darkness, 3 and 4. I really enjoyed 3, but 4 kind of left me wanting more. Still haven't beaten that one, and I believe they're coming out with another one quite soon, hopefully. And that one looks amazing. It sort of reminds me a bit of a Chrono Trigger, which is a good thing. But there have been some good ones. Like, going back to like Seaboard games, Breath of Death 7 and Cthulhu Saves the World were fairly retro in their turn-based gameplay, but even when it felt and looked very much like an NES game or SNES game, it they still had their modern like ideas into it. Like after every single level up, you went and you after every single level up, you got a bonus. You could actually go and get like it might give you a health bonus and a vitality bonus, and the other bonus that you can choose from could be an MP bonus and a magic bonus. And then you would choose between them. And then there were a lot of times where you had to choose and like one type of specialization. And that was pretty cool. The fact that after you beat enough enemies, they'll start to not want to go and fight you, and random battles will cease. You can continue to fight them if you want, but the random battles will cease. The fact that there's actually difficulty levels that were quite beatable and required you to use your head was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. The fact that they added humor, so much humor into the actual game. There were some good jrpgs, though technically it's not a jrpg because it's not from Japan, though it's very much like one. They're not gone. The charm is not gone, but in these like professional developers, some of them, from what I've played, in the 7th generation, in that time period from like 2006, 2007 to about 2013, it just a lot of the games I played in the genre just did not get my attention. I mean, most of the games that actually did, like Final Fantasy IV DS, Final Fantasy III DS, or that Penny Arcades on the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness 3, Cthulhu Saves the World. A lot of those games have their charm, have something that makes them really good. When it comes to FF4DS, the fucking difficulty. When it comes to Cthulhu Saves the World, all of this retro and modern, just put together. The charm in these games, the humor, Penny Arcade, that was an amazing game. The fact that it had this job class system, which I fucking love those, but I really don't know what much I can actually say more on this. I mean, there are a lot of different games in the genre that I wouldn't mind playing. But I'm at this point, I'm actually looking for any kind of recommendations. I heard that Xenoblade Chronicles was just amazing, even though it's an action RPG, I believe. Just the last story, that one was another one that came over Japan, from that. I believe people were like bugging the hell out of Nintendo to get a couple of games to come over here. Well, that oh, damn, what was that? Well, it was something. It was something Japanese. Wrath of the White Witch, I believe. It was this thing that it was this RPG that was shown quite a bit on YouTube and the commercials, the ads. I heard that one was a pretty good one. But even now, looking back to it, like Super Mario RPG, every time that Mario would do his charades, every single time when he would just go and like somebody would piss him off, and then he would be like trying to go and hit him, but somebody like Mallow would restrain him. Um, there were a lot of just personality and a lot of these characters before, and I don't see that in Hope from FF13. I don't see this in Harder and Emil from Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of a New World. I definitely don't see that in anybody from Enchanted Arms. Well, maybe except for, hell no, I'm not gonna go say anything about Makoto from Enchanted Arms. He was just a flamboyant gay. Full on flamboyant gay. But, oh, they didn't even try to hide that. Oh, hell no, they didn't try to hide that. That was his defining feature. And even when he changed into the Mystery Man, you could still tell. It was so easy to tell that he was still Makoto. But looking into stuff like the relationship between Locke and Celis from FF6, actually going and seeing, well, that Chrono Trigger, and even when it comes to music, I barely noticed the music in a lot of the last couple of RPGs I played in like the 7th generation, even the 6th generation, but and the good 5th generation, the 4th, the music was awesome. It's still my favorite piece out of all of them. It is still the ending theme to Chrono Cross. That theme, immediately when I heard it, I just thought of the entire genre as a whole at that point in time. And it nearly drove me to tears. But I don't notice any of the music nowadays. Can somebody help me? Can somebody help me understand this? Is it? I'm just getting. Am I just jaded, or something? Am I apathetic nowadays? Do you think that the quality's gone down? I mean, a lot of my how I change it still going back to Pokemon Diamond. I had high hopes for Pokemon Diamond, and while it wasn't really smashed into the floor, it was more like Spore was the first game that smashed my expectations down into dust. But nothing ever lived to my high expectations after childhood, going into the teenage years, into adulthood. I still don't think, I don't feel as if any of the games nowadays can really compare to what I played as a child. But then even when I go back and play the games I played as a child, I still, none of them actually feel as if they give off the same like level of charm that they did when I was a child either. And I still feel as if that's just bad. Can somebody help me figure out why this is why this is happening? I mean, the Ratchet and Clank series, while I still enjoy A Crack in Time and Tools of Destruction, replaying them in challenge mode is not something I generally do. I've never completely replayed Tools of Destruction in challenge mode. But when I was a child, Up Your Arsenal and Going Commando could go for like 3 times before I actually stopped playing 3 times consecutively. I have so much more time to play games, especially now that I'm really starting to do things with my channel. What's with the quality of these games? Is it me, or is it just the games? I really don't get it. Gran Turismo 5. That game went from being Gran Turismo to being Forza Motorsport. You can probably tell that I don't necessarily like that. I played it. I enjoyed it for a little while, but it did not match up to GT3, GT4. I went and played, I went and played a lot of different games, but only a couple of these games actually really match some of the just greats that were in the previous generations. Like Sly 4. Sly 4 is almost as good as Sly 2, but it sure as hell beats Sly 1 and Sly 3. Gaming has not become worse, but I feel as if, in general, a lot of the games that are put out nowadays just aren't as good as a lot of the games before. Though there are a lot of games that are better than what was put out before. Oh, like in the Sly Cooper case, Sly 4 is definitely better than 1 and 3, and it's almost as good as Sly 2 in my opinion. Only if it was a tad bit longer, but in the comments, tell me what you think about the last generation, how gaming has been going on. See you, everybody.